everybody, and welcome into the Mountaineers Now postgame show. I'm Schuyler. Joined with me is Christopher Hall. West Virginia dropping to Oklahoma State 67-60, and now 0-2 in Big 12 play. Looking some of the stats here, once again, free throws, a big issue for West Virginia, 17 of 28. Clearly not as bad as the other night, but still a big problem. They shot 19 of 52 from the field, 5 of 18 from three-point range. Eric Stevenson led the way with 17 points, followed by Trey Mitchell with 16 points and 7 boards. And for Oklahoma State, Avery Anderson, 13 points, and Bryce Thompson, 15 points. Coming into this one, it was Oklahoma State's ability to make three-point shots. That was going to be the big key for West Virginia and to try and find a way to stop them. They only went 5 of 16, so they were able to do that, but they weren't able to do a whole lot more. So, Chris, just break it down for us. What went wrong in this game? Or I guess I should say, to keep it short and sweet, what actually went right?
Not a lot went right. 11 first half turnovers. They were fortunate to only be down, I believe, or was it 7, 9 at half? I don't even remember where it was at halftime. But when you have 11 first half turnovers, you dig yourself a hole. It's hard to come back in this league, especially on the road. And then you look at the shooting. I mean, the shooting was horrendous the first half. They started off 2 of 10, finished 8 of 25 in the first half. Mix that in with the turnovers awful. They were fine from the free throw line in the first half, and I think in the second half they started out 9 of 10. But down the stretch, I believe it 1 and 4 from the free throw line, which I know it doesn't really add up when you think of the total score, but it adds pressure to Oklahoma State to have to score. The lead would have been cut down, maybe force a turnover there, but it's really been the same thing. You've got a team that has a bunch of good players on it that try to play off the screen, off the ball, and some of them can, but they haven't played long enough to know where the holes are going to be when they drive. They really just need to run offense. They got good looks when they ran offense tonight and missed open shots. We saw that last year. So there are shades of some things last year, but this team doesn't quit. Last year, that team would quit when things really went sideways there in the first half. I think West Virginia lost 81-58 last year when things went sideways out there. So, yeah, there is a difference. Comparing last year, that's a huge jump. And scored, still lost. But really, it's just little things. And you wouldn't think fundamentals would be a thing with this group, but it is. And you kind of commented earlier that when you think back before the break and the way they played those last 2 games, and then those guys said, "Don't worry, we'll be back." They should have probably taken that week a little bit more seriously. They were excited to play Big 12, obviously for all the reasons. It's the best league in the country. But that was really a time to fix some things, especially without Emma Matthews and gel with each other. But the last 2 games, they, for whatever reason, haven't been able to make shots and just really been stagnant offensively.
Yeah, speaking of the free throws, I mean, this is going to be a problem. Like if they continue to shoot 56, 58% or 60% from the line, they're not going to win very many Big 12 games. This is now 2 games that they could have easily won had they just made free throws. And I mean, we're talking about a guy like Jimmy Bell who, for his career is about a 63, 64% free throw shooter. He's not even sniffing that right now. What is the problem with the free throws? Is it just getting in their head? Is it, I mean, what could it possibly be at this point?
Free throws is 100% mental, and that just takes playing in and working at it. It's just like a shooter. You shoot jump shots, you're not making shots, you got to shoot through it. You got to get in the gym, shoot through your misses, fix your mechanics. That's really it is. Bell's mechanics aren't bad, but you can tell it's just 100% mental with him. There was one point when he fell over the line just with his momentum, just kind of carried him over the line, and that's just poor mechanics on his part. It's just forcing it. It's trying to push it in there. He just needs to flip it in there. That's really what it is. I mean, that's an easy fix. Huggins said on the post-game show, they're supposed to make 100. We all know that. Heard him say it for years during practice, but he's suggesting maybe they do another 100 on their own time. because yeah, 60% is not going to win you games, and if you're going to continue to turn the ball over, which games are going to be like this in the Big 12, it's going to be frantic. Every game matters. You need as many wins as you can in this league to try to make it to the postseason, to position yourself for the Big 12 tournament. So Oklahoma State's now 1-1. They just lost 2 points, just by two, to Kansas on Saturday on a controversial call at the end. So you're West Virginia are 0-2. Now you got Baylor and Kansas at home. You couldn't steal one on the road to open the season. Um, they have it's Monday. They have till Saturday. And all 15, 16, however many kids they have on the team now. I would be in the gym working because you fall 0-3. Kansas comes in Saturday. You fall 0-3. It's not gonna turn out to be a good season.
No, I mean it's 35 turnovers in 2 games, and I mean again, this is something that Hugs has talked about at length since the beginning of the season. They just continue to throw the ball away. But Eric Stevenson, we've got to talk about the technical foul. I want to get your assessment on it because to me it didn't look like there was anything there. I mean, it just looked like he was looking off to the side. Didn't even think he even said anything. I mean, I could be completely wrong on that, but he didn't make any gestures that I know of. I mean, I know you brought that to my attention, but I couldn't see of anything. But that completely changed the game. It felt like.
Yeah, they said he made a gesture towards the crowd. They slowed it down. I mean, looked like he was more adjusting himself than grabbing and making a gesture towards the crowd. For it to warrant a technical, you think you'd have to face it and really be demonstrative on it. Like I don't know, like that just to what a silly technical to give when it wasn't a clear a clear you know gesture towards the crowd. So he definitely has a target on his back for whatever reason. That's two technical fouls in a row, and he fouls out driving to the basket. Which man, that was a tough call for a fifth foul. Kid to me looked like he clearly fought, but the man that kid, he's 4 or 5 fouls every single game now. Huggins, I don't know if he agreed with the call, but since he was told what was happened, he made sure to tell Stevenson that he's had to talk to him twice about incidents like this on the court, and he said there won't be a third time. So he is made it very clear that it happens again, he will be out the door. I don't know if he was going to have that same feeling once he watches the replay, because again, I look if someone wants to tweet it at me, feel free. I didn't see it on the replay, so uh, maybe I have to wait for the recording to come out to check it again because it was, the first replay they showed, it was from behind. He didn't look towards the crowd other than turn his head. So I don't. Again, it was a very iffy call.
Yeah, and then
Coming.
you told me that who was it? Caleb Boone that did the throat slash or whatever towards the end. So I mean,
Caleb makes the third slash and no call. So that is like by definition, that's I mean that was
that's
made
an immediate attack. Yeah, no question
immediate.
about it.
Yeah, it was an interestingly officiated game with good old Higgins. Like we got Kip Kissinger, we got Higgins, and we haven't had Doug Sermons make an appearance
It's
yet.
got to be coming up, right?
Which really, like everyone wanted to blame Higgins on the technical. He's not the one that called the technical on Stevenson. It's like I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he did most of the non-conference games for West Virginia to call it Stevenson. But he's been around and obviously has an issue with Stevenson. So that's where we can get in. Like I've made arguments forever for full-time officials, rotate them within regions because this guy obviously has a problem with Stevenson, and it may have cost West Virginia the game tonight over something very small.
Yeah, and, the one bright spot I thought was Pat Sumnick. Now I know he didn't get a ton of run, but I mean that could be a guy that could give you a little bit of a boost off the bench. But I think really the key outside of Stevenson staying out of foul trouble is getting Joe Toussaint back to playing at the level he was playing earlier in the season. Really, since that UAB game, I mean, he's kind of been non-existent, and I feel like to get him back offensively is going to be what takes his team back to where they were, winning games and not just winning games, but winning them comfortably, having that
Adrian,
third guard.
he's had a tough road trip. I think he's 1 of 19
Yeah.
now.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Good note
So
on that. Yeah.
it was good to see Stevenson. I know he played well. I thought offensively. But, he did, I think, regardless if you think that was not an intentional foul, he does play a little out of control and has to rein it in. Because, I mean, yes, that technical foul was fourth, and that charge that they called at the end would have been his fourth foul. So even with 5 minutes remaining, you would have had 4 fouls. So bring it in, play within yourself. He's got to play with emotion to play the level he does. That's why he hit those 3 threes right back to back to back to give West Virginia a lead. So he just got to find it within himself, play within his teammates. He's done it previously this year. Again, I think he's kind of getting picked on a little bit by the officials, but that's where he's just going to have to let it roll off his back because they're not going to stop. It's quite apparent at this point they are not going to stop blowing the whistle. 2 technicals in the last 2 games, and it's 2 of the softest technicals that you'll see all season.
Yeah, we talked about it following the Kansas State game just the other day that, this kind of felt like a must-win game. I mean, I know they're all must-wins, but when you look at the schedule they got coming up, they come back home, they play Kansas and Baylor. That's arguably the 2 best teams in the league or 2 of the best 3 in the league. I mean, it's not going to get any easier. I mean, West Virginia could be staring at the face, right down, at 0-4 and to start league play. And if you start 0-4 in league play, good luck trying to get to 500 by the end of the season. So we'll see what exactly happens this weekend when West Virginia returns home to the Coliseum. They face off against Kansas. That game is going to be on ESPN Plus for whatever reason. But tip off set for 6 o'clock. Chris, last thing before we get out of here. What is the biggest thing that is hurting West Virginia right now, aside from the free throws, maybe aside from the turnovers, that this team has to fix before Saturday?
And, it sounds weird, but really they still have to work on the defense. I don't think that's really a secret. They still have communication problems. Credit to their opponents as well. These aren't bad teams they're playing. They all know how to run an offense. But I think they just really need to start working on their offense. The scout is out. There's a lot of film on these guys out there, and they need to start adjusting. They have got to work together. Love to see Trey Mitchell. I mean, he put up 16 a night, 5 of 12. You want to see him be more aggressive. I don't think anybody would be upset if he went put up 20 shots a game. He had plenty of opportunities to shoot tonight, and he kind of passed it up. And it's, with all the talent, these players that, we talked about the other day that could carry another team, they just probably wouldn't be that successful. There's got to be a little bit of selfishness on his part. I would say that with Emmett as well. Between Emmett, Trey, and Stevenson, that's got to be your core scorers. That's what was working. And then you have Toussaint and Keedy chipping in. They work well around that trio of scorers. Like, just get those guys the ball. Don't force Toussaint or Keedy to have to make a play. Let those guys work from inside out, move the ball around, work within your offense, get the numbers. That's something that they're really going to have to work on this week because start the game they went on 2 4-minute scoring droughts and only had 4 points in the first 8 minutes of the game. That cannot happen. Definitely can't happen on the road because this is the result that you're going to continuously get.
Yeah, a long week ahead for West Virginia, especially once they return home. I'm sure some of those guys, at least if they're not spending time in the gym, they're going to be spending more time on the bench during the game on Saturday. So we'll see how the Mountaineers bounce back after their 0-2 start to the Big 12 play. West Virginia and Kansas, 6 o'clock Saturday on ESPN Plus. We'll be back here for the Mountaineers Now post-game show. At least Chris will be courtside or somewhere halfway up the deck in the Coliseum. So we'll have that for you Saturday night. So for Christopher Hall, I'm Schuyler Callihan. Be sure to click that subscribe button on YouTube at Mountaineers Now and follow us on Twitter at Mountaineers Now as well. Thank you for watching. We'll see you guys Saturday.